We're set to go racing for a second time today here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Really good formation, a tight formation, 2x2 off of turn 17. The long haul, it goes uphill a bit, then it'll start heading downhill now. The green flag is out, and a really good jump for Gresham Wagner. He's going to get to turn 1 first. Question is, can Celine Roland hold on to the second spot? Looks like he's going to be able to do that, and we have plenty of contact in the back of the field, and that shining car, the number 48 of Zack Lee, is going to end up in the gravel trap. Not sure that he's going to be able to get that one back underway. We could see a full course caution.
If we stay racing for now, though, and it is Gresham Wagner with a nice jump. He'll control him down into turn number 5. Celine Roland has the second position, and Tyler Maxson, he got a good jump, but he's being challenged by, it looks like, the 77 of Luke Oxner. Oxner going door to door with Maxson. Maxson leaning on him a little bit, not giving him a lot of room to the inside, but as they make the right-hand turn into turn number 8, Oxner's going to have the position. He'll take over that 3rd spot as Maxson gets kicked back to the 4th spot.
And the 57 of Tyler Gonzalez, he had to have been involved in that incident involving Zack Lee. As the full course caution comes out, everybody got into turn 1 cleanly, but they didn't get out of turn 1 cleanly.
Yeah, so watch the red and black car a little bit further back. That's Peter Enzer. He's the car that gets offline, and it kind of stacks some things up. And as he came back across the racetrack, Enzer's about 8th in line. We see him swing really wide. That car takes an abrupt left, and Zack Lee looks like he just got clipped by Gonzalez, who certainly had to make an evasive maneuver to avoid Enzer. That's clearly marked. Just a lot of cars going for the same bit of real estate. That turn 1 and 2 positions there here at Barber Motorsports Park. A lot of elevation change. Hard to really stay on line with those cars depressing and getting light when you crest the hill. So tough break, obviously, for Gonzalez, who had a fantastic run. There was front-end damage to his machine right there for Copeland Motorsports. That car will be certainly needed assistance to take it back to the paddock. And then for Zack Lee, they're going to have that car on a hook, and hopefully they can get him restarted at the tail of the field.
Yeah, we're going to watch the efforts to get the 48 extricated. They're able to get him out of the trap. I think he was able to keep it running, because after they got him hooked up to the toe strap, we could see the wheels spinning on the race car as if he was trying to apply a little pressure to that accelerator, get that car back underway using the throttle, but no such luck for the driver of the 57 and Tyler Gonzalez.
So it appears that Zack Lee did get out of the gravel trap before the pace car in the field came back around, but they didn't get him unhooked in time, so it looks for now as though he's gone down a lap.
So Tony LaPorta joins us. Tony, very, very busy. Just worked a victory lane. Just like that, puts on a different hat. But it's a labor of love, is it not, Tony LaPorta?
Absolutely. We're having fun down here on pit lane. Chad McCumbee, quick information from you. Robert Stout had a good qualifying session, but he has to start race number 2, the 4th round of the season, from the very back of the grid. Explain to us what happened on the 28.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had some a big engine overheat the first event, and just didn't have time to change it. So we'll see what we can do here. He'll make it exciting and put on a good show for everyone, that's for sure.
I spoke to him and his father, Robert, who spots for the car when they're out on track. He talked about the car being a lot better on old tires. Can you speak about that, why he prefers to be running on those old worn-out tires? Obviously, Barber Motorsports Park known for tire degradation, but what is it about Robert's car that he really feels good about when the tires are a little bit worn out underneath him?
Well, that's just what we try to set it up for. We know that that's a big deal here. Guys are slipping and sliding, 5 minutes into the race. So if we can be there 45 minutes, that's what we needed to be. So hopefully that pays off for us. Maybe we can get a late caution and he can surprise some people.
As the owner of McCumbee McAleer Racing, the co-owner, you also field the 48 of Zack Lee, the driver that just beached it over on the exit of turn number 1. Have you heard anything from Zack on the radio? What's the condition of the 48 car?
Yeah, I think we're in trouble. He said something's definitely broken his suspension. So we'll take a look at it, see what we can do, and see if we can get him back out there.
All right, Chad, thanks so much for the time, and best of luck getting the 48 back together.
Thanks, man.
Again, that's Chad McCumbee, the co-owner of McCumbee McAleer Racing, which fields several cars in the competition today, but the big one that we're talking about, that 48 of Zack Lee, as you see right there on your monitor, he is suffering some suspension issues.
Really intriguing visit with Chad earlier today back in the paddock. Well, you and I both involved in that conversation with him, and he's a big fan of this form of racing, and for a number of reasons, because he likes to. I think it's one that develops drivers. I think it rewards driver ability, and he's certainly made his mark in the series as an owner in a short amount of time.
Well, and not only is he a big fan of the series, but for young drivers or even older drivers looking for a place to come race, his team, McCumbee McAleer, should be on everybody's shopping list, because Chad is one of the smartest people in this paddock, and he complements the skill sets he brings with a background in circle track racing, complement those brought by his partner in the business, Stephen McAleer, both of whom raced for Mazda in a variety of series and bring years of experience. They're both, two of the smartest guys in the paddock, and so and that shows with the level that they've taken their team to in just a few short years.
Tony LaPorta, you greet the number 48 machine, which is back on pit road.
Yeah, Zack Lee points to me through the windshield. He's calling me over for an interview. I don't know if that's a very good idea. We're going to assess the damage. First of all, a lot of heavy damage on the right front of this car as they go and pull the right front off of it. There's wheel damage inside that BF Goodrich, and just like all the footage we've seen from the NTT Indy cars that come off track, gravel drops from the floor pan of this number 48 McCumbee McAleer prepared MX-5 Cup machine. They pull the ductwork back. We're taking a look at the suspension here. Nothing exactly jumps out at you, but Zack's complaining of damage from the incident. They've got just tons of gravel, weeds, grass, everything rooted up inside this car right now. Ductwork having to get removed. They're definitely gonna have to refasten some stuff, but as I get the best view I can, nothing noticeable jumps out about the right front suspension, but of course the crew's gonna go to work on diagnosing it. Gravel just continues to dump out of this car. Now I'm gonna go over and check with Zack Lee and tell you guys if he's ready to talk on air in just a moment.
All right, good stuff for sure, and kind of reminiscent of what we saw earlier today with Zach Veach of the NTT IndyCar Series. The session for him came to a quick close, and I mean, not only did gravel come pouring out of that car on pit road, it did so back in the paddock area as well. So Tony LaPorta, Zack Lee's ready to talk?
Yeah, he's talking to Chad McCumbee right now about what he feels in the car. We've never done an in-car interview here in the middle of a race, but Full Course Yellow is allowing us that opportunity. Zack, crazy start to this one. Tell me, what did you see through your windshield?
Yeah, the two of the cars in front of me came together on the exit of one and then just came out and hit me. I was just an innocent bystander. I was making my way around them on the outside.
Now, you and I talked during the track walk Thursday afternoon. I asked you why this car is chrome colored. You said you wanted to be reflective and flashy like a lure. I don't think that strategy worked out for you in this one.
Oh, it definitely did not. I think it was more of an invisible car. It hurt me.
Yeah, well, what did you feel when you drove it back to pit lane? We were talking to Chad when the incident happened. He said that you were complaining of right front suspension damage. What's the car feel like here back in the pits?
Oh, when I was driving it here to the pits, it was undrivable. Something's broken. I think they said the eccentrics were bent, so they're trying to put them back.
All right.
My race is over. I just got to try to get some points.
All right, well, Zack Lee, that's the smart thing to do. As close as this championship's going to be, retrieving any points is important. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, Zack Lee.
That's access there.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks to Zack Lee, but good on Tony. It's climbing right in there into the cockpit of that race car and getting the first-hand view and the thoughts and impressions of Zack Lee. Great stuff.
And a great job by the camera crew down there as well, really showcasing all that gravel that was kicked up from that accident, Mo.
And Zack Lee got to see the incident once through the windshield. We got to see a replay, and I have to agree with him. He was an innocent bystander. He was running around the outside and Answer, and it looked like Gonzalez got together when Answer got up on the curb and pushed them both wide and into Zack Lee. I can't find any fault with Zack Lee on that situation.
Well, 20 years of motorcycle road racing and supermoto for Zack Lee from San Antonio, Texas. Gravel's not nearly as friendly to the MX-5 cars as if you've got two wheels on the motorcycle, but not a single sponsor on that car. And how about a little showcase there, albeit in the pits, but some great work by that McCumbee McAleer team. Hopefully they'll get Zack back on the racetrack, and good to hear he's able to at least share a laugh about the color of that car. As Mark, it looks like we're set to go racing here. 36 minutes to go at Barber Motorsports Park. Gresham Wagner brings it back to the start finish line.
Off of turn number 17, can Celine roll on, use the draft, and make the move down into turn number 1. He's tucked right up behind Gresham Wagner. Wagner's going to pull away a little bit. Luke Oxner trying to hold on to the third spot. Looks like he's going to be able to do that. Maxon, Nowaker, the top 5 as they work their way around turn number 3. We saw the leaders start to check out a little bit in the first handful of laps earlier today, talking about Michael Carter, the rookie, but he wasn't able to hold off Celine Roland for very long.
Well, we've got some new names as Robert Nowaker with a super aggressive move to the inside as they go 3 wide. Nowaker picks up what looked like to be the 4th position. Brian Ortiz in car 4. He's pinned to the inside. Now moves to the middle of the racetrack. That's going to allow the front 2, maybe the front 3, with Oxner getting away just a bit. Michael Carter has that 4th position in the Soul Red Mazda. Looks like he'll hold on to it as Ortiz and Nowaker lean on each other a little bit. Mark exiting turn 8 and 9.
And Tony, you say the 33 cars on pit road?
Yeah, Alex Bashura from Slipstream Performance Guys has brought the car in. The hood goes straight up, and they're dumping bottles of Aquafina into the radiator cap right now. I leaned in and asked the mechanics, guys, what's the issue? I said, what is it? And they said, it's a problem. They're pouring bottles of water. The car is spitting and steaming. I'm not sure if the cap came loose. I don't know exactly what happened. These guys are diving inside the engine bay as Zack Motors passed us back onto the track. Pit lane's getting busy down here, guys.
Ortiz, Nowaker, the 99 of Kemper. That is the battle for the 7th position, and you would swear those guys are battling it out for the race lead.
I don't know how either one of those cars maintained the side view mirrors, Mo, because they went side by side for about 6 or 7 corners here.
And that's the beauty of battery tender MX-5 Cup racing. Quick note again on Bashura. You'll remember the 2 races at Coda when Nowaker got spun around in race 1. The car that hit him couldn't avoid him. Alex Bashura started the 2nd race. 3 cars got together, and who got collected in that? No fault of his own. Alex Bashura. And here we are for race 2 at Barber, and Alex has another problem. I'm not sure that guy can buy a break at the moment. That's really, really bad luck for Alex Bashura.
Tough break for the 49 machine of Peter Enzer. He was the one, Mark, that kind of triggered that opening lap accident. Just he will serve a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact for the accident that ended the day for Zack Lee.
Michael Carter just set fastest lap. He is currently P4, and he is working on the 77 of Luke Oxner. He wants that 3rd position, but not going to be able to get it just that as they work their way around that fabulous Barber Museum.
Boy, Carter did a really nice job getting a nice run at the bottom of the hill to try to challenge Oxner for that 3rd spot, just not able to get all the way alongside of him. So here we are, Mark, similar to what we saw earlier today, a 4-car breakaway. The only impressive part is that it's Gresham Wagner and not Brian Ortiz. He's the one guy that wasn't in the party at the first race earlier today. Wagner's done a fantastic job as he leads here on lap 5.
2 battles, Wagner, Roland, Oxner, Carter, then just behind them, Ortiz, Nowaker, and Kemper. Back to pit road and Tony.
Alex Bashura giving us our 2nd ever in-car interview here on pit lane. Alex, we didn't see what happened. The team pops the hood immediately and starts dumping bottles of water in the engine. What brought you to pit lane here?
My temperature started climbing to about 230, 240. I decided to pull it in. I think I must have caught a rock or something happened with the radiator, so the crew's looking at it. I didn't have any contact. I just touched with somebody, but no real contact, so they're trying to figure it out and see what's happening there.
Did the engine feel okay when you came back in? In other words, do you think once water's put back into the engine, will you be able to rejoin?
I'm not sure if it's turbo or not. We're going to find out here in about 2 minutes.
All right, Alex Bashura sitting here on pit lane.
5 laps in, already 107 passes, and we've got a couple of guys trying to add to that number. And right now, the battle for 2nd off of turn number 5 is a side-by-side battle, Nick Gilman.
Luke Oxner looks strong. You know, he had that 4th position for most of the entire race earlier today. Was never quite able to get up and challenge Celine Roland. Doesn't look like he's comfortable waiting for a last lap or 2 to try to charge his way to the front. Oxner looking really racy, not able to get around Celine Roland because now he's got company as Michael Carter gets right up onto the rear of that Mazda. And now, Mark, that 4-car breakaway is starting to turn into a 7-car train as it looks like Ortiz, Nowaker, and Drake Kemper have joined the party.
And that happened as soon as that battle for 2nd turned into a side-by-side one with Roland and Oxner. That allowed that 2nd battle that we talked about, the battle for 5th between Ortiz, Nowaker, and Kemper, to pull up on it. But for all intents and purposes, it's a 7-car freight train now.
Yeah, we see Gresham Wagner still leading, taking a super wide line into the entrance of the carousel, then able to kind of diamond it back off through turns 16 and 17. That advantage stays at about 3 or 4 car lengths. But yeah, maybe the guy to watch could be 5th place running Brian Ortiz as he has caught that front four. We'll see if he can make a move on the rookie in that Soul Red Mazda. Michael Carter going to have his hands full with the veteran from Puerto Rico.
But Bo, the race within the race is the battle for the Indy 1 championship, and it looks like we could have a pretty spirited battle for that Indy 2 title. But through the first couple of weekends of this season, John Dean has a stranglehold on that Indy 1 championship right now.
Certainly John Dean has been the class of the field in the Indy 1 class, but right now, Hernan Palermo and Nathaniel Sparks are locked in a battle with less than half a second for P1 and 2 in that Indy 1 class, the 155 previous generation, 155 horsepower previous generation cars. John Dean is not that far behind him. He's, well, all three of them, he's another just over half a second back. But look a little further back, right behind John Dean in P14, Robert Stout. Remember, Tony gave us a note at the beginning. Robert Stout started at the back of this field in a backup car because he had an engine problem after the flag in race 1. And Robert Stout is climbing his way through this field.
And back to that Indy 1 podium, John Dean, Nathaniel Sparks, and Hernan Palermo were the top 3. Sarah Montgomery, running in that class, finished 4th, and she wasn't very far at all from finishing on the podium.
No, and should she finish on a podium, her or Lonnie Unser, they would become the first female drivers to ever stand on a podium in Mx-5 Cup, and we're all hoping that both of them get to stand on a podium one day.
Yeah, there's a look at Robert Stout, currently 14th, as he is catching that 3-car battle that we mentioned for the Indy 1 race win that Palermo has for now, with Sparks and Dean tucked right up underneath the rear fenders of that car. So for Robert Stout, we know he's got a fast race car, Mark. He knows his way around this racetrack. Probably going to need a couple cautions to work his way towards the front of the field, because we kind of see this look down the front straightaway. You saw the first group go by of the leaders. He's got his work cut out, but there's Palermo in that white and black car doing a really nice job leading Sparks and Dean into the Alabama roller coaster for that Indy 1 race win.
Under 29 minutes remaining in this one. Gresham Wagner is P1, Celine Roland, Luke Oxner, Ortiz, and Carter the top 5. Noaker, Kemper, Maxon, Holm, and Lockwood the top 10. First car in the Indy 1 is running 11th. That's Palermo. Sparks is 12th. And then Dean is tucked in behind him in the 13th position. Stout, as we mentioned, up to 14th, but he is closing on that pack. That lead pack that might be starting to check out a little bit, those front 7, but they're not checking out on one another. There's not much spacing between that front 4 or 5.
Now looking to roar down the hill in front of the fabulous Barber Racing Museum here in Birmingham, Alabama. It is Gresham Wagner by about 2 or 3 car lengths over Celine Roland. Just love watching these cars snake their way through the S's. We saw it Circuit of the Americas a couple weeks ago, has a couple definitive S's parts of the racetrack. And to see these cars get light, go up and over the curbing, flexing those left and right side tires, getting a little air time. It's just fantastic. And great to see, Mark, that nobody's running away with this one. We saw Celine Roland run away with the win at Austin a couple weeks ago. This one looks like, as for now, still plenty of racing to go. 27.5 minutes here in Birmingham. It is a 7-car breakaway back out of the front straightaway to complete lap number 8.
Yeah, turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. So very, very fast, and it just looks good. The camera angle we have, I think, gives you a good impression of just how fast those cars are, regardless of what form of racing we're talking about.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And there's lots of places here at Birmingham that you can get side by side and really mix it up here in the Battery Tender Global Mx-5 Cup presented by BF Goodrich Tires. Still watching Gresham Wagner looking for his first career win. Luke Oxner takes a look to the outside for second, but those front 7 playing kind of nice right now, Mark. Still a lot of racing to be done.
And while they've settled into a nice race pace, we're going to visit with Mike Pralin from Battery Tender. Not only is he the owner, but Mike, you're also a bit of a racer yourself. Spec Miata?
A little bit. I'd say that. Yeah, I run some SEA stuff, some chump stuff, gin days. We have a good time with the Miata.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Battery Tender, the company, and what you feel is the benefit to your company by being so heavily involved as title sponsor of the series.
The grassroots is the main thing. I mean, that's where we got our start. That's what we're all about. We like to supply the whole racing series itself. In fact, every one of these cars is now equipped with our battery, our new lithium line of batteries. that start the starting battery for these cars.
Yeah, this is what's known as broadcasting luck, if you will, Mike. I ask you a question, you give me a very thoughtful, very long and involved answer right about the time we have a pass for the lead. So.
Yeah, it looks like Celine Roland takes over that top spot. But this series, so competitive, Mike. I mean, we see these races that are, finished a couple car lengths here or there, tenths, hundredths of a second. You're not going to find this type of racing anywhere in the country.
Anywhere. We were with Rolex for quite a few years with the Alex Job Racing. We were with a lot of different groups with Patrick Dempsey, and we've never witnessed anything like this. It's so competitive. You're one shift away from winning or losing a race.
Let's head down to pit road. An update from Tony LaPorta.
Yeah, guys, I just stopped in over at the Copeland Motorsports pit and confirmed with them that, in fact, the 57 of Tyler Gonzalez was out of the race. They confirmed that to be the fact. Broken steering rack after avoiding Lonnie Unser's spin. He made a move to the wall. The car wouldn't even turn, and that's what ended the 57, the 14-year-old of Tyler Gonzalez's day.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about your involvement with the Hard Charger Award for the series.
Yeah, that's something my daughter started, and she thought it'd be a good way for us to get involved with, the guy that he's not always running up front, the guy that starts from the back, the guy that has a bad week the prior week, and he's trying to work his way up. And, there's so many passes in these races. There might be 100 different passes, and the guy that comes from 20th to 10th or second or third, that's the guy that's working his tail off. And that we like to, give the guy something for all that effort.
And Mike, would you agree that, one of the, I think, really selling points of this series is that, sure, we see some drivers up front like Brian Ortiz making a charge into the third position that, they'd like to take their racing career to another level. But this series is full of drivers that are just out there having fun. And as you mentioned, that grassroots level of racing truly seems to be what this is all about.
It seems like a lot of fun for us to watch, but it's a true pro sport. These guys are as good as anybody in the country driving any of those other cars you watch week to week. They're just great race car drivers.
Well, Mike, let's talk a little bit about the product line. Let people know a little bit more about Battery Tender and where perhaps they could go to find out more about the wide variety of products that Battery Tender offers.
The best place to go is batterytender.com. We've got our entire website is on there. From our array of battery chargers to solar battery charger equipped car covers, boat covers. We have the whole array on our website itself.
I know that I guess most satisfying for you would be to continue to watch the development of this series and then someday turn on the television, watch online or whatever, and see your involvement in what it's meant to drivers when they reach the upper echelon of sports car racing. It's got to be a thrill for you and your company to be a part of it.
If these guys don't go any farther than where they are right now, it's still a thrill for me. They're as good as anybody out there, and I think if you stuck them in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, they'd be running in the same spot they are right now.
Well, they put on a good show for us, and thanks to you and the good folks at Battery Tender for all you do for Motorsports.
Well, and likewise, we really appreciate what y'all are doing for us.
Mike Pralick, our guest here, Battery Tender. Also a Spec Miata racer. It's always nice when guys are involved with the sport and to get behind the wheel.
I'm telling you, anyone that gets involved with racing, what a thrill for these guys to not only watch this type of racing, but to be involved. And the racing continues to be strong up front. We saw Celine Roland grab the top spot moments ago. Hasn't really checked out from Gresham Wagner, as that rookie driver has done a tremendous job in that second spot. Then it's Ortiz, Oxner, Michael Carter, the top five, and Robert Noaker and Drake Kemper right there in position to make a move if anything were to go wrong.
An early in for the 33, Tony.
Yeah, guys, Mo Murray said it perfectly when he said the 33 of Alex Bashura couldn't buy a break after a very tough weekend of on-track competition woes kept him out of the running order back at COTA 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately a terminal engine failure here in the fourth round of the 2019 season. Race number 2 proves to be a little bit too much for the 33. Their day is done early.
And now in the 3 years that we've been doing this, quite frankly, I think we've now exceeded the times that I remember any sort of an engine failure. I mean, typically extremely reliable. I mean, that's a rarity for sure. And it happens from time to time. But boy, by and large, I mean, think about what, especially a day like today, Bo. everything from the suspension to the tires and all of that, what it's been through doing 2 races like this in one day, plus qualifying.
2 races plus a qualifying session, all in the same day. And yes, the teams go to work and they go through the cars, but in the short window we had between the 2 races, they can't really do any major overhaul or change any major components. As we saw with Robert Stout, he was forced to actually go to a backup car because he had an engine problem. But you know, certainly this is a hard day for the teams, for the cars, and for the drivers. But boy, what a fun day for us. You know, Mike Prelick talked about battery charges and getting things charged up. For us as humans, we watch this racing, and that's what charges us up, because this is some of the most exciting racing. As we can see, with this lead pack of 7 cars, really, you know, racing hammer and tongs here at Barber.
I'm pretty impressed with Brian Ortiz. I mean, he's able to go high and go low, able to change grooves throughout the turns. He got the right rear off the racetrack a little bit, kicked up some dust. And the guy that has to be frustrated, Tony, the 77 of Luke Oxner. It's like for the 2nd week in a row, he's very, very close to a podium, but he just can't seem to kick the door in.
Guys, Luke Oxner is out there right now working on 3rd position from Gresham Wagner, and we hit on it in race number 1 a little bit earlier today, but Mo Murray and I got an up front close seat personal look at it in practice number 2 yesterday when Luke lost control coming out of the corner they're in right now, exiting turn number 5. He lost the BF Goodrich's on the right side over into the grass. Car went around backwards, and he actually made contact with the left front corner of the wall. That broke the steering rack, the same issue that took Tyler Gonzalez out of this race today, except when it happened to Oxner, it was in practice. The good news was the hardworking guys over at White Racing out of Greeley, Colorado, were able to swarm on the front end of that car. They fixed the crumpled bodywork, they fixed the steering rack, and now Luke Oxner's out on track. And guys, he's making moves, not faking moves right now.
We are watching John Dean now. With a pretty good battle with Palermo and Sparks as that continues. That is the ND1 battle.
And he was running 3rd moments ago behind Palermo and Sparks. So a nice charge for John Dean. And here it was moments ago, running in the 3rd position up the hill. Palermo hangs the left side tires off the track. He and Sparks make contact. And how about the move by Dean, Mark, jumping to the inside, as we've got a new race leader in ND2 as Brian Ortiz out of the final corner. He takes the lead and leads his first lap of the day.
Yeah, he just looked like he was coming for sure. We're up to 110 passes now with a couple of different race leaders and a couple of lead changes. But Celine Roland not going away quietly. He's running about a half a groove higher now as they work their way through turns 2 and 3. But as they crest the hill, come off of turn number 4, it looks like Ortiz starts to stretch it out a little bit.
And Mark, our 7-car pack has become a 6-car pack. Not exactly sure what happened to Gresham Wagner, who was running 3rd moments ago. I think that's him now finally making his way down into the turn 4, 5, and 6 Charlotte's Web portion of the racetrack. Wagner running 3rd. He's now out of the top 6. So it's Ortiz, Roland. They've got a nice little gap back to Michael Carter, who runs in 3rd. Luke Oxner has the 4th spot, then Robert Noaker and Drake Kemper.
Look at Roland trying to chase him down as they work the curbing to the left side. They've got a short little straightaway now, a wide exit off of that turn. But as you mentioned, 6 cars now starting to break away a little bit. And there's what happened. Roland went a little too wide. Bottom of the racetrack opened up for Brian Ortiz, and he took advantage.
Yeah, and again, those final couple corners, 15, 16, and 17, with them being swooping the carousel, there's varying apexes, and there are, you can be aggressive early in the corner, but you're going to give up at the exit, and there's just varying lines of how you can attack that corner, and it looked like Ortiz just simply got him there in turns 15.
But there's still 17 and a half minutes left in this race, and as runners would do on an indoor race, or cyclists will often do, when you make a break is critically important. And Ortiz is making a bit of a run for it at the moment, but as we saw at COTA, having a lead of even 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 seconds sometimes isn't sustainable, because 2 cars will run faster than 1 when they get together in a draft, just the way the aerodynamics of these cars works. When do you make a break for it? I think Celine Roland is not going to let Brian Ortiz get out of his sight for too long, and they're going to chase him down.
Well, if it has wheels and a motor, it seems like Ortiz is driven in touring cars, karting, F4, NASCAR K&N Pro Series, and IMSA Continental. So the driver from San Juan, Puerto Rico, plenty experience behind the wheel of a car as he currently leads the ND2 class 15 laps in.
Yeah, we're used to seeing that Bella Racing car at the front of a lot of these MX-5 races. at the point right now as they make their way back down the hill. Roland creeps right back up to a couple car lengths. Looks like Roland's car got a little loose there at the bottom of the hill. Michael Carter not close enough necessarily to challenge, and now the front five kind of in danger of leaving Drake Kemper, who's sitting there in the 6th position as they make their way through the S's.
Yeah, we want to again reiterate the interesting comments we heard from Chad McCumbee earlier. He said, that while it is a spec series, he said there's a very small box, but sometimes, Mo, you can chase a lot within that small box.
If you know what you're doing, and if you have the experience that a team like McCumbee McAleer Racing or Six Sideways, that John Dean leads, and they run cars, Six Sideways runs cars in both Indy 1 and Indy 2. But the experience of working with these cars since they were first developed, it really pays off, and it really allows those, we talk about in other forms of racing whether there's an advantage of having a single car team. Here there's really a single car team's at a disadvantage, because although the windows of opportunity for adjustment are small, the opportunity to, or the benefits that can come from getting those right are significant. And the broader your database, the broader the set of information you have to work from, coming from more than one car, as in the case with McCumbee McAleer or Slipstream or Copeland Motorsports or Six Sideways, it really shows that those teams bubble to the top.
I thought for a moment the 08 of Michael Carter was going to challenge Celine Roland for that 2nd spot, and it looks like Lonnie Unser has lost it off of that final turn. She's able to keep that car underway, spin it back around, and get back on the straightaway.
Now we saw David Staub look like he was involved as well, as Lonnie Unser does have that car fired back up. Here's a replay. Yeah.
That's a narrow miss.
The team is 6 sideways, but that was a little more sideways than you'd like to get. So it was actually a fantastic job by Staub to jump into the grass to avoid that spinning car for Lonnie Unser. But as you mentioned, the good news for her, all about gaining experience. This first opportunity for her to run in the Battery Tender Global MX-5 Cup. Good news is that car, Mo, looks like it was well put together, and she can continue on.
We love having Lonnie in the series, as we do Sarah. It's great to have a couple of girls running in the series. Lonnie is a rookie. This is her 2nd weekend in MX-5 Cup. And in conversation with her earlier, some of the people around her, notably her dad, Johnny, are telling her, look, you're going to win or you're going to learn. That they're the only 2 options here. And her learning curve is very, very steep at the moment. But she's such a bright, intelligent young driver. She's soaking everything in. And she's able, she made a mistake on the last lap of race 1 because she focused too much on somebody who was coming up behind her and didn't focus on didn't execute what her job who should have been on the last lap, and she lost a position. Same thing happened here. She lost concentration because there's a car big in her mirrors. That's how it looked to me, and had a spin around. She didn't do her any damage, and I'm not sure that she lost any positions. Maybe she's back in 22nd overall, about P7 in Indy 1. But win or learn, and that's the lesson that Lonnie has to take away from all of these races.
In that battle for 3rd, the 77 of Luke Oxner is flat wearing out Michael Carter, and Carter says, well, I think I'm going to pick on Celine Roland a little bit as he gets right on his bumper now.
And this is just fascinating how, again, midway part of the race, we had a 7-car breakaway, then it turned into 6 as Gresham Wagner dropped off, and then just 5 as Drake Kemper couldn't really hold on. And now we're starting to see Celine Roland really get aggressive through the S's, trying to get around Brian Ortiz. Missed his way through that line mark. That's going to open the door for Michael Carter, who stuffs it up the inside.
They're going to lay on one another now as they head through 15, 16, and 17. Carter with the advantage by a nose now. They'll climb on the binders a little bit. We'll see who has the advantage once they get to the straightaway. It looks like Michael Carter is going to grab that spot for now, and while they mix it up, how about Brian Ortiz? He starts to pull away a little bit.
Yep, Ortiz across the line stretches that lead out to nearly a full second, 9/10 of the line, and that's a brilliant example of momentum racing here on these road courses and these MX-5 cars. Roland started to get a little bit aggressive, and all you have to do, Mark, is miss it offline by a little bit, and you're going to have another talented driver like Michael Carter who's ready to jump and take a spot.
That I really thought Carter a few moments ago, about a half a lap and a half ago or so, was in danger of losing a position to Luke Oxner, and then all of a sudden he hit the button. But right there is the 87 of Celine Roland. He's trying to get to that left corner. He tucks right up in behind him now as they run nose to tail. look at Ortiz doing the smart thing, trying to get out of that mess and step away from him, kind of get into some clean air and see that car stretch out a little bit. The side-by-side battle continues.
I hope Michael Carter likes that second place now, because I'm not sure how long he'll be able to hold on to it. Celine Roland just looks like he can put that car anywhere he wants. Thought he might try to go side-by-side at the top of the hill. That's a really, really tough place to pull off a pass. Thought better of it, got back in line, and now, Mark, it's going to take about a half a lap for him to gather it back up and run down Carter.
And as you mentioned earlier, when you went through the list of different venues and types of cars that Brian Ortiz has raced in, Mark, he has a lot of experience. He's been around a little while. He's not the youngest driver in this race, and has a lot of experience. Behind him, Michael Carter, rookie in the series. Behind him, Celine Roland, sophomore in the series. And behind him, Luke Oxner, also, I believe, a sophomore in the series. And then right behind them is Robert Noaker, 15 years old. So what these 4 young kids behind Brian Ortiz need to do, if they really want to reel in Brian, is stop racing each other, stop jumping out of line every chance they get, and hook up as a train and go after him as a unit. And very quickly they'll reel him in if they do that. We saw that at COTA when the McCumbee-McAleer guys all agreed, okay, let's just settle down and chase down Drake Kemper, it was at the time, and they were able to reel him in. And that's what needs to happen here.
Ortiz would suggest you mind your own business, but he'd rather that not happen.
I'll tell you what, Carter just got really sideways, though, entering turn number 5. And as much as they would have liked to stay in line, Celine Roland had to do the evasive move and jump to the inside. Does the smart thing now, though, as Mo talked about, though, Mark, falls in line as they race back down there.
And I don't know that he has enough time left in the race to get up and challenge for a race win. But look who's worked his way into the top 10. Look who's 8th, the 28 of Robert Stout. And right now we've had 137 passes, and he owns about 28 of those, I think.
And lead of ND1 class, our buddy John Dean has found himself at the front. He's won all 3 races so far this year and finds himself at the front with not a huge margin over, well, actually he has about 2 seconds over his teammate Nathaniel Sparks in second place in that ND1 class.
Yeah, and Palermo's the guy that he's been battling with this weekend too in that ND1 class, and he's currently running in that 3rd spot in that class, and Sarah Montgomery again has the 4th spot, which is where she finished in the race earlier today.
So just about 9 minutes to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. The lead for Brian Ortiz that time across the line, stabilized at about 9/10 of a second. Carter runs in the 2nd spot. Then you've got 3rd place running Celine Roland, 4th place running Luke Oxner, and then Robert Noaker, the top 5 as they make their way out of the Alabama roller coaster. We, again, for those that didn't join us before race 1. Race 1 delayed a little bit, Mark, and we had a track sweeper tip on its side, but the action's still pretty good later in the afternoon. Here comes Luke Oxner. He's going to try the outside, the long way around on Celine Roland.
Oh, contact!
And he makes contact with Michael Carter, who spins that Soul Red Mazda. Looks like Noaker's going to be the big winner. He might have just jumped into the 2nd position, but it is Michael Carter who gets tagged by Celine Roland, falling through the field.
I think they were going at it so hard into that turn. Carter lifted into that turn, and because of that, the gap was just closed too fast, and there wasn't anything they could do to recover to avoid the contact.
Almost as if Roland and Oxner were playing a game of chicken of who's going to outbrake who. Roland has the inside, and boy, going to be interesting here from race control, Mark. That's about as blatant avoidable contact as you're going to find. Carter, again, it didn't look like he sustained too much damage, but watch Robert Noaker, that white and black car. He hits the apex perfectly, and all of a sudden, that young 15-year-old finds himself in 2nd position.
And another guy in contention, Gresham Wagner, spun in turn number 9, so things kind of come and unravel as they start to push to the ragged edge at the end of this race.
And Robert Noaker was not the only beneficiary of that kerfuffle in the Charlotte's Web area of the racetrack. Drake Kemper in that number 99 car also got through. He was at the tail of the field, and we wondered whether he could stay with them, and now he finds himself in 3rd place.
So now the question mark becomes Robert Noaker. Does he have the flat-out pace to run Brian Ortiz? I mean, the biggest winner there might have been Ortiz, because the 2 or 3 cars that consistently throughout the course of today have been fast enough to challenge for the win all came together down in turn number 5. So a great opportunity for Robert Noaker as he's got to make up what looks like 20 to 25 car lengths to run down Ortiz. But boy, what a jumbling of the potential podium we might have just seen here in the NT2 class.
Yeah, he has got a heck of a gap now, almost a 3-second gap for Brian Ortiz over Robert Noaker.
And Mark, Celine Roland will be ordered a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact there in that incident involving Michael Carter. So you will see Roland, who currently runs 5th on the racetrack, going to have to come through pit lane. What a massive, massive points hit that's going to be, Mo, for a guy that I think we kind of labeled as the championship favorite.
Well, yes, it's a big hit for him, but we talked about it before. One of the great benefits of battery tender Mx-5 Cup racing being sanctioned by IndyCar is we get to lean into IndyCar race control. Kyle Novak, our race director, is the same guy who is the race director for the IndyCar series, and he's very decisive. He makes calls, and frankly, looking at the replay we saw, I'm not sure I can disagree with him on that call. That was an ambitious move as Celine Roland heads down pit road to serve his penalty. But yes, it's going to take him. It's going to make the points payout from this race much lower than it could have been for him, and we're early enough in the championship, but certainly that's a hit he doesn't want to take.
These guys again they're killing your stat in terms of margin of victory combined last year, because that lead now is at 2.8 seconds between Ortiz and Noaker.
Hard to argue, though. I mean, with the racing, it's been so good. That's why we've seen some of these margins of victories ballooned in the later portions of the race. It's because these guys have pushed so hard, and we've seen throughout the course of the last couple of years, if you wait for the last lap, the drivers in first, second, and third may have a chance at a win, certainly on the final lap, but you've got to get aggressive and start hustling, Mo, when you get under 10 minutes in the race.
It's not over yet.
That's right.
We have about 2.5 laps left. And there's a lot can happen in these MX-5 Cup races.
Well, I mean, we had Al Unser Jr. in here earlier for the first race talking about the series itself in addition to his knee slot. We heard Tony LaPorta talk about the track walk that he went on to start the weekend off, and he ran into Will Power. And, the NTT IndyCar Series drivers paying attention to this form of racing because it's so entertaining.
That's true. A lot of the IndyCar drivers and their teams will come out to the wall, assuming they're not busy, but they'll come out to the pit wall and watch this, or watch it on the monitors on their pit stands, because obviously the race feed goes to all of their pit stands. And they have repeatedly come to us, come to Mazda's race director, John Doonan, and said, this is a fantastic, this is really, really brilliant racing.
We need an IndyCar radio race, I think, amongst us.
Oh, that we're going to tear up a lot of cars. That's going to get awful expensive. It'd be a blast.
It'd be fun nonetheless, for sure. You're right about that. Ortiz has stretched the advantage out to 3 seconds now, and it looks like the best battle on the racetrack now is that battle for the third position. That's the 99 of Kemper and the 77 of Ortiz. Let's go check that of Luke Oxter. Let's go back to pit road, Tony.
Well, guys, I've got to tell you, the MX-5 Cup paddock is always fun, and it's sometimes pretty interesting down here on pit lane. As I made my way towards the Copeland Motorsports pit, Dean Copeland, team president, waved me over emphatically after the issue between their driver, Michael Carter, the scholarship shootout winner, and Celine Roland, winner of round 3 earlier today. Dean waved me over. I leaned in and said, how's it going? He goes, well, we got taken out by Celine Roland, but the good news is he got what's coming to him. He then at that point drove right by us as he served his drive-through penalty. Dean clapped quite emphatically at the 87 as it passed us, serving its pass-through penalty. And Dean looked at me and said, we'll leave here with the championship point lead, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
And I'm sure Dean Copeland was clapping because one of his other drivers, Brian Ortiz, is at the front of the field. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt for that.
I love racing. Hey, you mentioned Al Unser Jr. Didn't he do that once after he had Emerson Fittipaldi at Indy?
Yes,
I think he got up and gave the clap and the thumbs.
He did.
He said he didn't want to do that, but that's just kind of what happened. But
that's right. And
God, I love competition.
It was heartfelt for sure, I think. No question about it.
So we've got about 2 minutes to go, and I'll tell you what, Robert Noaker may not have that second spot locked down as much as we thought, as Kemper and Oxner are certainly threatening. Ortiz's lead this time at the line is a healthy 2.7 seconds. John Dean still your leader in ND1, but tell you what, Drake Kemper came in this weekend as the championship leader, scored a win at COTA. Looks like he's going to come away with at least a podium. Looks like he wants that second spot, though, from Noaker.
It looks like Robert Stout's going to get a top 5.
How about that? That's incredible, coming from the back of the field, and without, I mean, just that full course caution even on the opening lap. That's unbelievable. What a run for Stout.
In a car he hasn't driven.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a car that he hadn't driven all day. And after the end of race 1, they pulled it out of mothballs and said, okay, we need the backup car. That's a pretty impressive result. And Robert Stout is always impressive when he's behind the wheel, but certainly a race like that today, to go from the back of the field to top 5 is very impressive.
Well, as tightly wound and tightly bunched as the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is, one thing's for sure, their nose-to-tail battle is, at least for now, not allowing them in any way, shape, or form to track down Brian Ortiz, Nick. That's a pretty healthy advantage for Ortiz. It remains well over 2 seconds.
Well, they're running out of time, and we are now under 60 seconds in this race. I believe these drivers are going to see the white flag here in just moments. So Kemper and Noaker, again, it would have been tough even if they worked together with so little time to catch our race leader. Battle ultimately is going to be for the 2nd spot to see if that young 15-year-old Mo can hold on.
And Brian Ortiz, you mentioned earlier, he's from Puerto Rico. He flies in for all of these races. He has a big following of people in Puerto Rico who tune in and watch these races. He alone may be responsible for the audience, the big audience for MX-5 Cup racing in Puerto Rico. As Brian takes the white flag, one more lap to go, we say hi to all of his fans and our friends in Puerto Rico, and we wish them well. He's sponsored by the Bea Group, which is Mazda's distributor in Puerto Rico, and they've been very supportive of him over the last several years. He's such an addition to this series. He's such a good guy to have in the paddock and to have in the series. And this will be, assuming he gets this last half a lap in, this will be a very popular win.
And let's let folks know, while we're at it, the people who might be joining us late, that these races are actually posted on this site. You can go back and watch them after the completion.
We watch them live on MazdaMotorsports.com, and then within a day or two, we'll post them up on Mazda's YouTube channel. You can go back and watch these races. Both the races from COTA are up there, and in a day or two, both of these races from Barber will be up there, and that's how it'll be for the season.
Well, the lead is now down to 1.9 seconds, but I think he's fairly comfortable. It's just a matter of not putting a wheel wrong. It looked like Kemper was going to work over Noaker, and Oxner was going to be the beneficiary, but nothing doing in the terms of the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Ortiz on cruise control right now as he snakes his way through 13, 14, and 15, and this talented young driver is just a few turns away from going to victory lane here at Circuit of the Americas. Already setting up for turn number 17 is Brian Ortiz.
Brian Ortiz from Puerto Rico going to score his first race win of the season. Out of turn 17, Brian Ortiz scores the win here at Barber Motorsports Park. He'll take the checkered flag. Robert Noaker holds off Drake Kemper for the 2nd position. Kemper, a fantastic points day as he comes home in 3rd. Luke Oxner finishes 4th, and Robert Stout 5th to round out the top 5 in the ND2 class. As for that battle in ND1, here comes John Dean out of the final corner, 4-4-4. That's 4 for 4 as in race wins, Mark.
Goodness.
He scores another one as John Dean II picks up the victory in ND1.
And Sparks will grab the 2nd spot. Palermo will grab the 3rd. They will own the podium in ND1. What an impressive performance, though, by Brian Ortiz, and had the fastest race car, I think, most of this race number 2.
And looking at how things are going to shake out, it looks like Brian Ortiz may take over the points lead in ND2 as Drake Kemper finishes 3rd. He's going to fall about 8 points behind. Celine Roland ended up in the 10th position, Mark, after that drive-through penalty, so does a little bit of damage control for Celine Roland, but still, he'll wonder what could have been had an opportunity to sweep the weekend.
Engine change pushed Robert Stout to the rear of the field, plus 23
That's
on
incredible.
the day. Kemper was plus 8, Lockwood plus 7, John Dean plus 6. Ortiz led once for 13 laps. Wagner led once for 9 laps. And Celine Roland led once for 4 laps. But Roland took himself out of contention with contact that forced him to serve a drive-through penalty.
And Mark, our Battery Tender Hard Charger Award goes to Drake Kemper, who finishes in the 3rd position today after starting in 12th. A great run for Drake Kemper.
Now, Mo, we look at the schedule moving forward, and while seeming there is a sizable gap, we don't see the series again until June 21st when we're at Road America. Then we go in July at Mid-Ohio, in August, early September to Portland, and in September wrap up the season at WeatherTech Raceway. Bottom line is this: with the doubleheader weekends, it's a 12-race series, and I know Chad McCubbie, for one, is very, very happy with the number of races, and he likes the way the schedule's laid out.
Yeah, the schedule works for the teams. It works for the drivers. Yes, there's a little bit of a gap now, but again, you know, the month of May is in that gap, and everything that goes on in Indianapolis in the month of May, and with the IMSA program, there's a lot going on in that gap.
Right.
Maybe not for these drivers specifically, but for motorsports in general. But boy, when we come back at Road America.
Yes.
America's Motorsports National Park, one of the most beautiful places, rivaled by Barber, I might say, but certainly a calendar that the teams love and the drivers. They go to marquee racetracks that they absolutely love racing on.
Well, we talked about the good folks at Battery Timber, talked with them. In fact, we've talked about BF Goodrich. Let's talk a little bit about Mazda and their commitment to the series.
So Mazda has had this philosophy for many, many years of supporting motorsports at the grassroots level. 55% of racers who race at the grassroots level in the U.S. race a Mazda, and all through the system, all through the various levels, we have support. Mx-5 Cup is the crown, one of the crown jewels of what we do. They're cars that look like cars we sell in the showrooms. They're cars that are designed by our designers, and it's fantastic to see this kind of racing. And of course, you level up from this. We're in the IMSA WeatherTech series with our beautiful prototypes, which we'll race next weekend at Long Beach. But Mazda's philosophy of their belief in the power of human potential is what brings to life our involvement in these series. We love the personalities, and we love the fact that we can be the gatekeepers of the dreams of these young and old drivers.
He led 13 laps and was dominant the second half of this race. Tony LaPorta is with our race winner at Indy 2, Brian Ortiz.
Brian Ortiz ended practice number 2 yesterday as the quickest driver on track. He ends race number 2 of the weekend as the driver on the top of the podium. Brian, congratulations. That was a wild one. Talk me through your second race of the day.
Well, first of all, thanks to my team. They did an amazing job setting the car up. And I knew I had a car to win on the first race also, but we have overheating issues. So this was redemption for sure. We came from 7th and moved slowly. The car was really good, and we finished up front like we could. And we're going to hopefully do every other race on the year.
Well, this is going to be a silly question for a guy like you who I know is confident in his abilities, but a double podium weekend in Austin, a strong result in race 3, and a win here today in race 4. Can you guys win the 2019 championship and the $200,000 that goes along with it?
Yes, we can.
All right, Brian Ortiz, he feels good about locking it down here in 2019. We're going to go find John Dean really quick, guys.
Yeah, that's quite a celebration, Mark, and he has every reason to be confident. Brian Ortiz, what a win today.
Yeah, for sure, and no reason to expand on the obvious. I mean, that's a great question, but an equally good answer. Despite the brevity of it, it's still very, very effective, for sure.
So Brian Ortiz picks up the race win in ND2. Let's hear from our race winner in ND1. Tony, this is only the 4th time you've talked to this guy so far this season.
Yeah, normally he's ducking me and trying to get away, but this time we've got him corralled. John Dean, 4 wins to kick off the season. But boy, you and Sparky had a lot of fun. Great racing out there. Was this one any easier or any more difficult than the previous 3 races you've locked out this season?
That was way harder, man. These guys, we had a great race going, and the 3 of us were super close. It was the first time we really got to battle this year, and I couldn't tell really what happened. They got together, and I was just glad to see nobody got to the wall or anything, but they kind of handed it to me there. I don't know what ended up happening afterwards. I saw Sparky pushing as hard as he could back there, sliding off the corners, so I made sure to stay on it till the end.
Yeah, John, really quick, we've got our cameraman right here. Show us the damage here on Sparky's car. Yeah, I saw you talking about the contact between he and Hernan, but these are pretty significant battle wounds to still come home on the podium with, don't you think?
I don't know how there's still air in that tire because there's no wheel left.
Yeah, that BF Goodrich held together just long enough. John, congratulations on the win. Are you going to run the table this year or give anybody else a chance in ND1?
I don't know, man. These guys are really fast, so I've had good track position and a little luck come my way, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, John Dean scores his 4th win of the year as he continues an absolute lockout in ND1, and it's Brian Ortiz getting it done in ND2, guys.
Thank you so much, Tony LaPorta. Great job there on pit lane. Mo Murray, final thoughts, 4 races in the books. So it looks like we got a good championship battle.
We do have a good championship battle. We've had 4 races and 3 different winners in the ND2 class. We've had 4 races and 1 different winner in the ND1 class. But if you look back in the ND1 class, once again, Sarah Montgomery knocking on the door of that first podium, and we're really looking forward to seeing her get that first podium someday. But what about the quality of the racing? Absolutely fantastic. In this race, we had 189 passes for position in just this one race. The quality of the racing is absolutely fantastic.
A great day of racing. Congratulations to Brian Ortiz and John Dean, your race winners. We'll see you June 22nd and 23rd at Road America. This has been the Battery Tender Global MX-5 Cup presented by BF Goodrich Tires.